Hi everyone, my name is Ranju P, and this summer I've had the privilege of mentoring Sahana I. Sahana is a junior in high school living in Coppell, Texas, and since I knew Sahana, I understood that she had a very deep curiosity in psychology and how human thoughts, human actions, and human behaviors are shaped. It is very inspiring to see how she's invested at such a young age, and I believe she will continue to understand and learn more as she grows through. During our session, we focused on studying sibling attachment style, which Sahana will talk about, and I think this allowed her to understand, to deepen her thoughts and understanding about attachment theory, understanding basics of psychology, and gaining hands-on experience. She designed an Instagram and created some creative content. I feel fortunate to be here as her mentor, and with this, I present Sahana Iyer. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sahana. I'm a junior at New Tech High at Coppell in Coppell, Texas. Next slide, please. This summer, I had the opportunity to work with Ranju P. Ranju works as a central laboratory scientist at MedPace Inc. in Ohio. Recently, she has taken an interest in psychology as a hobby. Some other things she enjoys doing in her free time include cooking, painting, reading, and listening to music. Next slide, please. Last year, taking AP Psychology at my school fueled my love for the field. In that class, we learned about attachment theory, how children behave with their caregivers. I wanted to take this a step forward by researching how our childhood attachment affects our attachment style to our siblings after our childhood. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, can you go back? Thank you. Throughout this experience, I learned a lot about the various tools which exist to determine one's attachment style depending on their age. So one example of this is the sibling attachment inventory, which is a questionnaire. Additionally, I learned more about how our childhood attachment style affects our behavior and ability to form relationships as adults. And lastly, during this process, Ranju suggested that we post our survey on an Instagram account. She suggested that I create a professional Instagram account. And in order to gain a following and create a story, she suggested that I make posts about psychology. And this taught me how to create and post on a professional Instagram account. Next slide, please. Psychologist Mary Ainsworth designed and conducted a series of experiments known as the strange situation. In this study, infants and their mothers were placed in a room together. At some point during that time, the mother would leave the room, leaving the child with a stranger. In a secure attachment, infants showed distress and were difficult to calm in the presence of the stranger. Once the mother returned, infants calmed down and sought physical contact with their mother before returning to playing independently. In this situation that I just described is an example of a secure attachment style. In other instances of this experiment, infants showed insecure attachment styles. So one type of insecure attachment style is disorganized. Disorganized attachment styles are characterized by a child being conflicted on whether or not to seek the comfort of the caregiver or fear the caregiver. In an anxious attachment style, children can come off as clingy or constantly seek the attention of their caregiver. And finally, avoidant attachment styles are characterized by a child being indifferent about the presence or absence of their caregiver. They may seek contact with the caregiver, but then pull away upon their return. Next slide, please. Usually, attachment style is discussed in the context of its effects on romantic relationships or relationships with peers in later life. As we can see, individuals who experienced a secure attachment as a child generally find that it is easy to trust others and can handle being alone and feel comfortable being emotionally vulnerable. However, if we look at the insecure attachment styles, We noticed that one key feature of anxious attachment is that individuals may prioritize connection with others above their own needs and may struggle being alone. Next slide, please. The critical period for forming an attachment to a caregiver is within the first year of life. A critical period is a specific window of time in which it is optimal for certain developmental milestones to be met. Primary attachment figures are individuals such as parents, as discussed in the strange situation experiment. We also have secondary attachment figures. These are individuals who can provide the child with comfort in the absence of their caregiver. Usually, these figures are known very well by the primary caregiver and can include babysitters, teachers, and other similar figures. Secondary attachment figures, such as teachers, allow the child to explore their environment while still being safe. It allows them to form relationships with others. The combination of primary and secondary attachment figures creates what is known as an attachment network. Attachment networks provide children with security when in the absence of their primary caregiver. The quality of these experiences is thought to have an effect on a child's sense of self-worth. The other variables which I could not control for are listed below. Next slide, please. My hypothesis is that our attachment style with our siblings in later life reflects the treatment we were used to receiving from our parents or caregivers as a child. Next slide, please. Ranju and I created a survey which asks participants questions such as what their age and gender is, who their sibling-like figure is for individuals who didn't have siblings, their childhood attachment style with their caregivers, their childhood attachment style with their siblings, with the sibling they are closest to, and the degree to which they agree or disagree with the statements about their relationship with their sibling. And this was used to determine their current sibling attachment style. Additionally, we asked participants for information about their sibling or sibling-like figure, such as age, gender, and age gap. And we ended with open-ended statements about their relationship with their sibling. Next slide, please. So this is an example of the sibling attachment inventory that we used in our form. As you can see, each of these statements can correlate to one of the 4 attachment styles previously discussed. We have secure, disorganized, anxious, and avoidant. Next slide, please. We also included some open-ended questions. As we can see, when asked to describe what participants do when their sibling becomes emotionally distant, 25% said that they would give them some space, 48% said that they would reach out, and 27% didn't pick either of the two. So, and additionally, 100% of those who answered said that they adored their relationship with their sibling. Next slide, please. So this is the correlation between attachment to parents and attachment to siblings. As we can see, most participants who were securely attached to their parents have grown up to have a secure attachment to their siblings. Individuals who had an anxious attachment to their parents as children, well, there wasn't enough data to draw a conclusion, but then for avoidant attachment, we can see that even despite some people not having an avoidant attachment with their parents, they may still have one with their siblings. And as for disorganized, it's sort of the opposite as avoidant, with people who had a disorganized attachment with their parents not having as much of a disorganized attachment style with their siblings. Next slide, please. Next, we looked at the effect of participants' gender on sibling attachment. So, as we can see, most participants were female, and the majority of people responded that they had a secure attachment with their sibling. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next, we also studied how sibling attachment is influenced by the age gap between siblings. We can see that the age gap between siblings appeared to have a role to play in the security of the relationship, with relatively smaller age gaps being more conducive to secure relationships. Next slide, please.
1 minute mark, Sahana.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
We also looked at the influence of being the younger sibling or being the older sibling, and looking at whether younger siblings tended to have a different attachment style to their older siblings than older siblings had towards their younger siblings. As we can see, both older and younger sibling relationships seem to have a secure attachment style. Next slide, please. The last variable that we measured was the frequency at which siblings saw each other. So we noticed that when siblings saw each other less than once a month, they tended to have a stronger attachment style. Next slide, please. In conclusion, from this data, we can tell that the number of participants with secure attachment to parents also had secure attachments with their siblings later in life. More females adult participants, and those with a wide age gap with siblings tended to have more secure attachment to their siblings. And lastly, those with secure relationships tended to meet up with their siblings once a month. Next slide, please. Some limitations that I faced were that most respondents that we got had a secure attachment with their parent and siblings. Additionally, most respondents were female and were in the 90 to 65 age group. Additionally, despite the anonymity of responses, participants may have been hesitant to share their experiences, and this may have skewed the data. Next slide, please. My next steps include finding a population with an insecure parental attachment to further analyze the effects of childhood attachment style on sibling attachment style in later life. Next slide, please. My experience with Magic has helped me learn more about attachment style in the context of sibling relationships, and it has taught me how to manage and create professional Instagram posts for a professional account. Some things that I learned through this process was to narrow down my research question and collect and analyze data in a more strategic manner. Additionally, I found the data analysis and reading the literature reviews to be difficult. Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. Any questions?
Wonderful job. Thank you so much, Sahana. You're getting so much applause. As Sahana just asked, are there any questions? Feel free to take yourself off the mic or throw your questions in the chat.
Hi, Sahana. This is Smriti. Fantastic presentation. It was really, really interesting to learn more about this space. I was curious, you mentioned that, you didn't have a lot of participants that were in the insecure attachment style. Is that reflective, do you know, also of the general population, or the age group that you're looking at? Kind of how did that reflect the population in different areas?
Well, I feel like, so when I was sharing the survey, I mostly shared it with my friends and my family, and I think my mentor shared it with the Magic community. So I feel like just having a lot of people who've like grown up in a very similar environment and hang out, kind of know each other, that might affect attachment style.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
If nobody has a question, I have a question. Hi, this is Ira. I found this work very interesting, and you've also really understood the problem in the data because of the way you answered the last question. I have a I have a slightly different question. So you don't have too many males in your sample. Do you have a hypothesis on how you think the results might be different?
Like how the results would be different if there were
What do you
more.
expect? Yeah, you don't have the data, of course, but do you have a hypotheses that you might want to actually do an experiment or do another survey and see how that might be different?
I haven't really like thought about if there would be a difference, but I do know that it might play a role in how attachment styles vary, because like societal norms may play a role.
That's great. Thank you for the answer. I don't want to go back to a slide because then
Yeah.
sibling has to go back. But there's one slide which is very interesting, in which I think you were looking at younger and older siblings. And
Yeah.
so some people are older because they're the oldest probably, and some are younger, and then there's both, which means they have older and younger siblings, and then there was none because they're the only child. And I think you had one or two in your sample, and both were like secure attachment. So that was interesting to note because
Yeah.
you may or may not have guessed, hypothesized that. So it was really nice. I can actually ask another question. Was there something that really surprised you about the results?
I guess just like the amount of like I think I remember saying how individuals who had a disorganized attachment with their caregivers as a child tended to not have as much of a disorganized attachment with their siblings. And usually with like anxious attachment especially, individuals who had an anxious attachment as a child tended to have an anxious attachment with their siblings, but this wasn't the case with disorganized.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sahana. And thank you to both you and Ranju for sharing your work and working so hard this summer.